So what I'd like to do is deal with one element of what I call smartism, the presumption of what is smart and what is stupid. And one of the worst things we do to people in any environment, whether it's school or life or anyone else, is we cultivate the fear of failure. And when I say the word failure, I can always feel the crowd energy drop, because everyone hates failure. We all have associations with this word that we just feel terrible about it. And to me, this doesn't work, because you can make failure is a good thing. Well, let me explain to you how to. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take 7 minutes of your valuable time, and I'm going to explain how failure works. And when I am done, you are never going to be afraid of failure again the rest of your life. I'm pretty good at this. Watch out. Okay, so let's understand failure and what it is. There's actually 4 elements to a failure. And the first element is a thing. This can be a thought, it can be plasma, it can be a person, it can be an action. Anything can be turned into a failure. And for purposes of our discussion here, I'm going to take this podium, and this is going to be our object. It's going to be a miserable failure before the end of the night. Now, I'm hoping none of you gave the money to buy the podium. And April, you're cool with this. It's a very nice podium. We're just doing this for illustrative purposes. Okay, so we got a podium. It's a perfectly adequate podium. It's working just fine. However, I'm going to introduce the second element of failure, and this is the arbitrary standard of judgment. Now, this can be how tall you are, how much you weigh, where you went to school, who your parents were, what country you're from. In this case, I attended the Munich International Podium Institute, which was a little storefront above a donut shop, but you don't know that, where we studied all the podium science. And of course, you may or may not know now that podiums are really, a proper podium is really this wide. And it's made out of birch or maple or Brazilian hardwoods, which obviously this podium is not. Now, this podium is not a failure. It's not a failure. It is, however, in the context of this arbitrary standard, a non-success. We have a standard for what is a successful podium, and this podium is not meeting it. Okay, so the podium is not a success. It's not a failure yet. Now, let me explain what a failure is. And I'll illustrate this by saying that I also represent the Acme Podium Company of Des Moines, Iowa. And it is my painful duty to report to you that your podium is a piece of junk. Having studied at the Podium Institute, I can tell you that people from Foxborough come driving by here, and they snicker as they drive past. Did you see their podium? It's only this big. It's not made right. I mean, it really is an embarrassment, to everyone that you don't have a proper podium here at the library. And it's, so you really should feel bad about it. Now, you understand what I've done here is introduced an element of embarrassment, shame, inferiority, but it was not done out of the blue. It was done specifically to manipulate your behavior, because I want you to buy a new podium from me. So, of course, if you have a 2010 Cadillac and I'm trying to sell you a 2011, I'm going to tell you what a piece of junk your 2010 is. I mean, I'm not going to say it outright. I'm just going to say, gee, I'm your friend, and I have to tell you everyone's laughing at you because of this old junky old car you're driving. It is constantly being introduced. So if you eliminate, we tend to just say, okay, here's this non-success. And other people who are looking for whatever reason, sometimes they just want to dump some of their own personal shame and fear on you. A non-success event is the perfect opportunity to do that. And we associate non-success events with this shaming experience. They are two separate elements. Non-success is this, failure is over here. We tend to glop them together. When you drove in here tonight, you may have pulled into a parking space and you missed the 2 lines. You may have been too close to one. That's a non-success event. I don't think you beat yourself up and cried and felt that you were a total failure because you didn't pull into the parking space correctly, because you didn't make the association. You can completely separate these associations every time you have a non-success event. I'm having all kinds of non-successes lately. I do not consider them failures because, well, first of all, well, nobody has any business to judge it. And again, it's an arbitrary standard. What is your standard for success? This podium could be the best podium in the world if we just change the arbitrary standard. You have control of that too.